Scotch versus whiskey versus bourbon. Scotch, whiskey, or bourbon? How do you know which type of alcohol to drink? These drinks come from distilled grains or seeds of various plants such as barley, rye, corn, etc. They range in color from light golden amber to dark browns with different flavors depending on their ingredients for fermentation. The differences between them can sometimes be nuanced. Still, this video will break down the differences between Scotch, whiskey, and bourbon so that you can make an informed decision on what type of alcohol suits your taste buds best. Let's start with this. Whiskey is a popular drink that can be made in different ways. Scotch and bourbon are two of the most common types, but they each have distinct flavor characteristics. Scotch has more smoky flavors, while bourbon tends to taste sweeter as you sip on it. What is whiskey? Whiskey is a dark distilled spirit that has been traditionally made from fermented grains or by distilling beer. The mash can be any combination of barley, rye, corn, and wheat, which are then aged in oak barrels for added flavor. Whiskey is known for its oaky, grainy, vanilla, and caramel notes. However, the intensity of these flavors varies depending on the type and amount of ingredients used. This is why different types of whiskey, such as Scotch and bourbon, are pretty much different from each other. What is Scotch? Scotch is a type of whiskey that originates from Scotland and has more malted barley than other ingredients. Scotch comes with the same smoky flavor, but an added spicy edge to give you something extra when sipping on your drink. The taste lingers for just enough time so that new tastes can still be detected while also keeping any bitterness at bay. What is bourbon? Bourbon is a type of whiskey that has been enjoyed for hundreds of years. Technically, any drink with an alcohol by volume over 80% can be called bourbon under the law, but it must contain at least 51% corn in its mash bill to call itself bourbon. Bourbon's sweeter taste makes it appealing among all types and ages of drinkers alike. The difference between Scotch and bourbon. To give you detailed information about the two types of whiskey, Scotch and bourbon, check out this comparison chart to determine their differences. Scotch is mostly made of malted barley with about 40 to 90% alcohol by volume and originated in Scotland. It has a smoky and spicy flavor and is aged for at least 3 years in oak casks. The Scotch has an amber color with a smooth finish, and it is priced higher than bourbon. Bourbon is made of at least 51% corn, unlike in Scotch, and it has about 40 to 80% alcohol by volume. This type of drink originated in the United States and has a sweet and caramel flavor aged from 4 months to 2 years in oak barrels. Like Scotch, it has an amber color with a smooth or harsh finish, but it is priced lower than Scotch. At this point, the difference between Scotch versus whiskey versus bourbon might be more apparent. Scotch and bourbon have their differences, but which one should you partake in for your drinking pleasure? Let's take a closer look at the two drinks to find out. Flavor. The differences in the main component of Scotch and bourbon mashes give these two liquors their distinctive flavors. There's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying a nice, smoky Scotch whiskey when you want to spice up your night out experience while also staying classy. However, not everyone can handle such complex tastes. Bourbon whiskeys have more subtle spices that many drinkers prefer for their sweet taste and versatility as well. It pairs nicely on its own or is an excellent base for cocktails. Winner: bourbon. Color. They both have an amber hue. This is a result of being in contact with barrels for long periods of time, which pick up color from the wood that has been used to make them. It's a tie. Smooth finish. The smoothness of Scotch versus bourbon results from how long the liquor has been aged in oak barrels. The longer it stays, the smoother and lighter it becomes. Since Scotch is usually aged for 3 years and a straight bourbon for 2 years, it develops a mellow flavor. However, some bourbons are only aged at a maximum of 4 months, which makes their finish stronger. it's a tie. Price. The difference between Scotch and bourbon when it comes to price is pretty apparent. Barley is much more expensive than corn, which is the main reason why Scotch is more costly. Moreover, grain prices in the United States are lower than those in Scotland. Winner: bourbon. To conclude this comparison between Scotch, whiskey, and bourbon, it is clear that both Scotch and bourbon are enjoyable whiskey drinks, and these two types have differences. Choose Scotch whiskey if you want spicy and smoky flavors in your drink. You are okay with spending more. You want a smooth finish in your whiskey. Choose bourbon whiskey if you want sweeter notes to your drink. You want to save money on a whiskey bottle. You want a smooth or hard finish in your drink. Scotch versus whiskey versus bourbon is quite hard to differentiate at first. However, once you get right into the